What's the most strangely unique punishment you ever received as a kid? How bad was it? I desperately wanted to order WrestleMania. I was a massive Hulk Hogan fan. Well, I was acting like a little shit and wouldn't stop. So, my dad ordered the WrestleMania pay-per-view. He sat in the living room and watched it and made me sit in the other room where I could just barely hear it but couldn't see it. He watched the whole damn thing and didn't let me move or ever see the screen. It was just effing brutal. Edit, lots of softies in here saying this is bad parenting. Calm down. Dad gave me the chance to be better. I didn't listen. I had this shit coming. In elementary school we had this one really strict teacher that would make us T-pose in the back of the room if we were being disruptive. Every one of us scoffed at the idea until about a minute in and your arms are killing you. Very effective punishment. The Australian Army calls this standing at full dress. It is a pretty exhausting punishment. We had to do the 10-pound pencil as punishment, which ironically we had to do in the military later in my life only with a rifle lol. For those that don't know what that is, essentially you squat with your back to a wall then hold something trivially light chest level at arm's length and can't lower your arms. Sounds easy until you're 10 minutes in and your arms are on fire. Wall sits with arms out are the worst. I used to have to do it for volleyball with my arms out at an angle like I was blocking over the net, fingers out and all. Not sure how unique it was. But we would always be grounded from our rooms not to our rooms. It was the worst, you don't realize how much is in your room until you aren't allowed to go in it. Should my parents have something similar, we would be grounded from the house for the day if it was during a break. It really sucked in the summer. They just wanted to duck in peace. When I was 5 or 6, deaf old enough to know better, I bit my older sister directly on the stomach. Left top and bottom teeth imprints. It wasn't something minor. Mom grabbed a dog collar and leash then tied me to a doorknob for several hours. If you act like a dog you get treated like a dog. I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me. 5 minutes later you can never keep a wolf like me on a leash. Howls at the moon. He was feeling like a freak on a leash. Feeling like he had no release. Essay writing. My dad is a graduate school professor and he made us write essays about what we had done wrong, why it was wrong, and what we should have done instead. We had to cite sources and use outside information research. My dad would then read and correct the content and grammar of the essays until they were deemed satisfactory. We were basically grounded until the essay was complete and considered good enough. The worse the punishment, the longer the essay and the harder he critiqued it. For example, you left the dishes in the sink after being told way too many times? Pretty soon you were writing a short essay about germs and proper food handling, etc. I remember specifically getting caught drinking in the garage when I was 16. My dad was pissed and I had to write a 20-page essay about what the consequences of teenage drinking were to my 16-year-old brain, how much legal trouble I could have gotten into, and how much legal trouble my parents could have gotten into for allowing teenage drinking. Huge pain, but it got us thinking about topics we usually didn't think too in-depth about, and it was better than having my parents yell and scream. Usually by the end of the essay writing process both parties would have chilled out and a calm discussion would follow. You wrote this really well. My parents didn't know what to do with me BC I was being a prick, so they took literally everything out of my room including my bed. It was weird and I remember sitting in the corner with my teddy. I was hiding it so they wouldn't take that too. I was the firstborn so they've learned. Same. A little less intense, still had furniture, but no toys books. Also a firstborn. They were way more lax with my brother, too lax emo, but maybe they were overcompensating for me. #X200B. I was also made to sit in a chair in the living room for 3 days, after school time, when I was really young because my parents were trying to get my brother or I to confess to drawing on the kitchen table. It was my brother, but I 100% see how brainwashing can work because by the end of the joint punishment, I was second-guessing myself and my memories. When I was a kid my parents got rid of everything except my desk and bed because I was refusing to clean my room. When I got home from school I asked my dad where my stuff was. He said we threw it out. He said I looked right at him and said oh well, you paid for it. My parents loved the fact that I loved to read. Once, after I was grounded from TV for months, they threatened to take away my books. I told them no you won't. My dad just kinda sighed and agreed with me. Edit, I'd like to point out that I got punished. Just not that way. It was extra chores. My eldest sister loves to read. My mother used to yell at her for not watching TV with the family. When I was a kid, anytime my grandfather heard me say I was bored, he'd make me read the newspaper next to him. After an hour or so of that, I would no longer be bored. I miss him every time I see a newspaper. That doesn't seem like it settled as a punishment to you. The first few minutes were not fun at all. After a while, I just kinda got into it. But it was his way to make me a better kid person. A friend of mine recently told me that his mom used to have him kneel on uncooked rice when he did something wrong. Sounds miserable if you ask me. Very popular in old Catholic schools. Can cause permanent nerve damage. Hurts a bunch. Permanent nerve damage? Yikes. It legit causes micro tears in the skin tissues because they are like little knives digging into your skin. Ever seen the movie The Secret Life of Bees? Yeah, it's disgusting. Your knees get all bloody and it's like when you have a scab on an elbow, it hurts to bend. That's awful. My friend doesn't seem to have any knee problems now. He is 21, so hopefully he won't see any lasting effects. Oh, I mean, it really depends how often it happens. My friend, she lived with her super religious aunt for a while and she didn't like the way she wore her hair. She made her kneel in rice for a full 12 hours, no joke. She can't feel any touch on her kneecaps. She feels pressure but no sensation of touch. Sad, but she thinks it's cool. Sounds like those knees are now perfect for slamming into a certain aunt's forehead. My little brother and I got into a fight at school. Our dad bought some grout cleaner and found old toothbrushes and made us scrub the grout in the room the dogs slept in. Joke's on him, we had already made up and had a great time not doing homework or yard work, though we were sore the next day. Edit, I can't wait to tell my little brother that my highest rated comment is about our kickball fight punishment. When I was a kid and at my grandparents' place, whenever I was sick I had to swallow a tablespoonful of whiskey. Made me throw up every time. It didn't matter what the medical problem was. I got a tablespoon of whiskey. Poison ivy? Whiskey. Flu? Whiskey. Food poisoning? Whiskey. Fell out of a tree and scrapped myself up real bad? Whiskey. I think I was punished for being weak. There was no winning. If grandma or grandpa suspected that I wasn't feeling 100%, they'd straight out ask me what was wrong, and I had to say something or risk worse punishments. It's like that one time I sprained my shoulder and ended up with the doctor's fingers up my ass. Please tell me more. I crashed into a tree playing with some buddies. I thought I had severely injured myself. Go to the doctor. They start doing tests and then one thing led to another and a nurse, it wasn't actually the doctor, has her 2 fingers stick in my ass. My body clenched up because I wasn't expecting it. She asks me if I can let go of her fingers. I tell her there is nothing more I want in life at that moment. The doctor in my section had to come over and rub my back so I could unclench and release the nurse's fingers. They were afraid of a spinal injury. When you're in spinal shock, you lose rectal tone. Apparently his sphincter was still tightly wound. I threw a ton of glitter on my brother when he was in the bathtub. My parents bought a giant bag of glitter and dumped it on my bed. They made me count it and would not give me my phone or laptop back until I did. In Catholic school, a nun made me go out back in the convent and cut her grass with a pair of scissors. My thumbs were bruised for a week and hurt for days. How the duck did they expect you to count glitter? Even better, what kept you from lying? It's not like they would count it and prove you wrong. It was probably one of those bags that holds 5,450 glits. A glit, of course, is 1 grain of glitter. My boyfriend always buys the bag of 5,450 glits because it's only 30 more than the bag of 3,690 glits. But every time, sure enough, the party is over and we have 1,760 extra glits sitting around, turning sour.